really tired.
No, my post natal hair is like the worst. Like all this just like weirdness. These
You're just you're looking like a Flagstaff lady.
Isn't that nice?
Like very hippie. You just look a little bit more like hippie, like free
Fuzzy
woman. Yeah.
Oh, just terrible. Anyway, okay.
Monday night chats. We're going deep today with the word with the girls. All right. Well, welcome to A Word with the Girls. I'm Emily, and I'm joined by my sisters, Molly and Abby. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at A Word with the Girls. And if you have not yet subscribed to our podcast on Spotify or YouTube, go click that follow button so you don't miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or even a word that you want us to discuss, make sure to comment on Spotify, Instagram, or YouTube, and your word may be featured in a future episode. So before we dive into our word for today, let's catch up. Any fun icebreakers for today? What about the most shocking moment or surprise of your day today?
Oh, I know why you're saying that, because you did have a shocking surprise.
I know, and I want to share it.
I don't think I have one.
Nothing
or just like a highlight of the day.
Amos had a riddle.
That's
a
cute.
riddle?
Like he made it up?
I don't actually know. He's like, okay, Mama, this one's for you, because he knows that Millie will try to answer it. He says, let me think if I can remember it. A guy is driving in a car, and he needs to open the door. He has 3 door options. There's a red door, there's a gold door, and a silver door. Which door does he open first?
Do you want us to answer?
If you have a guess.
The red door.
No, the car door.
Oh, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
that's cute.
I was like, I don't know the silver door. He's like, no, Mama, the car door. It was a
That's
car.
cute.
Yeah.
Genius.
It's pretty clever. Oh, a good one.
Yeah, so
Moosey.
That was cute. Leave it to Moosey. So clever.
I don't know. Honestly, like I need this school year to be done because I just keep getting like emails from parents demanding stuff. So I wish that they were more shocking than they were, but really it's just like
the norm.
It's so hard. I don't know if it's everybody's anxiety is up, or I don't know what it is, but I don't know. That's not a very good answer.
Okay, so I'm back to subbing, and today I subbed for high school science, and the kids have like 12 days left of school, and so you can tell that they're like checked out. And so I had mostly like freshmen today, so they were just kind of like talkative and like had to keep constantly keeping them on track. And they were doing this really fun project where there was this moth in this environment that used to be like pure white, but then a fire came through and it kind of caused everything to be like really gray or almost black. And so then the moths were obviously like at risk of getting eaten. So they evolved over time and turned black. And so the assignment was the students had to look around the room and design a moth to camouflage wherever throughout the room, which was like a really cool. And there were some that were like, the ugly tiles that go up on the ceiling? They're like polka dotty.
Speckly.
Somebody did one that you legitimately couldn't even see the moth. It was really impressive. So anyways,
cool.
so all these students were like working on these moth projects. So that was what they were supposed to be doing. And this one kid needed glue for some reason. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like looking through drawers. I've never been in this science room before. And I open up the drawer and there is a dead squirrel, like a full carcass squirrel with its legs all sticking up just in the drawer. It didn't stink or anything, but it was like roadkill in the drawer. It was just a very...
Yeah, was it taxidermy?
No. I mean, it was just like as if you picked it up off the street and it was like kind of flat and its legs were all going like weird. Hard. And it was just like really gross. And I was like, why is this in here? Like, ew.
Did the kids know why?
No, they didn't see it because they were on the other side of the desk.
Oh.
So
you didn't even
anyways,
tell them.
no, because then that would obviously then cause a ruckus and then they wouldn't touch it or something. Anyways, it was very shocking. And I was like, why is there a squirrel? Anyways, it was really funny.
That
But
is funny. That's
yeah.
so unexpected.
Yeah. And gross.
Yeah.
And so all it made me think of was Christmas Vacation, like squirrel.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so that was my shocking moment of the day.
That is shocking.
I feel like there are a couple of highlights that I can think of, at least not from today, but maybe this weekend or more recently. When we recorded our last podcast, Abby failed to mention that they're going to be acquiring a very exciting new toy
Oh
with
yeah.
their family. You want to share that fun news?
Yes. So we sold our beloved kimchi, the pop-up, when was that? A couple months ago to our dear friends in Colorado Springs. And so we'd been on the hunt for a camper for a while, and we think we found the one. It's being shipped here. And yeah, we're excited. It's not here yet, but there was like a list of everything we wanted, and it's tricky with the car we have. It's an expedition, so it's not a truck. So it has, really just a capacity that it can pull, where a truck can really pull a lot of weight. Anyway, so that kind of made us rethink some of the things that we wanted, but we came to the conclusion that a slide out was good. Still wanted a bunkhouse. I don't have an oven or a bathtub, but we still will have a shower and a toilet. And so anyway, and the expedition can pull it safely because Alex did lots of research on what we can pull. And because we like to camp really high elevation, you have to factor that into, putting that much strain on your vehicle. Anyway, so we found one. It's the 181BH Keystone Hideout.
Woohoo.
Pretty cool.
So is
Yeah.
it like Kimchi 2.0 or does it have a new name?
Ooh, I don't know.
Like cucumber salad or something? I don't know. Like
No,
Jab
that's
J.
actually a good idea. Yeah, Job J. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. The memory maker. We'll start with that.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
fun. It
Yeah,
should be
so we're
here soon,
excited.
right?
Hopefully, we're kind of we're waiting, just waiting and waiting. So yeah,
So
hopefully
fun.
we have a camping trip planned over my birthday to Telluride. So we're like, well, we'll either go tent camping or in our new camper. So
So fun.
yeah, so that's
So
exciting.
fun. And then in other adventures, Molly, you made something new this weekend that looked quite delicious. What is it? It's What's it called?
Pavlova.
Okay.
It's like
What's
it's meringue, it's egg whites and sugar beaten until they're like fluffy like a marshmallow, and then you bake it in the oven for a really long time on like low, and it makes like a meringue. And then you fill it with like whipped cream and berries and lemon curd.
what
So,
inspired you to try that?
well, mom was wanting to do some baking, and so she was like, "Do you want to come over on Sunday for some baking?" And then was like, "What do you want to make?" So, yeah, it was
Was it
fun.
easy? It seems easy, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, just time consuming because it bakes in the oven for like 2 to 3 hours.
Low?
Yeah, like on 200, and then you turn it off, and then it has to like cool in the
Dang.
oven.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yum. So is it like
Interesting.
crunchy or chewy or both?
Both. Like the outside is dry, kind of like Lucky Charms marshmallows,
Hmm.
and then the inside is more pillowy, like meringue.
So fun.
So it was
Yeah.
fun.
I feel like you're going to need to create your own Instagram of just all of your baking adventures.
We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah. I also think if I'm going to keep doing it, I need to get some like actual like equipment, sort of.
Like the thing that holds your phone over what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yes.
like some sort of tripod situation or something, because
I know.
so
When you start wanting to like show people what you're doing, you then have to like invest in some of the stuff to make, because it's a job in itself, just trying to like get it in an angle, the right angle and everything. And people want to see it. It's always so exciting. You're very brave. Molly, the brave baker.
I think I would want to call it Molly and Mabel.
That's cute.
because that's the name of the KitchenAid.
The Baking Adventures of Molly and Mabel. Ooh, that'd be a cute kids book, Mall.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I also have been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately about like influencer culture and like how toxic it is. So then there's a part of me that's like, do I want to get into that?
Right.
I don't want it to like own my life, but the idea of like passive income also sounds nice. But it's
Yeah.
not really passive. It's like all consuming.
It is all consuming. And in order to even like make income, you have to have so many followers because one of my videos went legit viral. It's at like 2.7 million views, but I don't get a dime from it because I don't have enough followers for that to even monetize.
Weird.
Which is fine because it literally was like a 10-second video of me walking with that I walk, but still like
Oh yeah, that one did get a lot of views. That's right.
yeah. But it is all consuming. And then when you have to think like everything's content, then you like miss out on just like the beauty of what you're doing, and then it
Right.
loses its like fun. So
There's just kind of like a little, I don't know, like there's so many of these bakers or cooks that I started following like around the pandemic, and they were just like at home bakers doing random videos. And then now they're like publishing cookbooks, and it's just a little bit like
mhm,
you sold out, which feels unfair because I'm sure it's really great for them.
mhm,
And I even am like, oh, I kind of want to buy their cookbook or whatever. But it's like to watch like the evolution of that is
mhm.
not as exciting as it is like sad to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And the
and what
bigger
would be
you
your goal in it? You know,
Right. That's the thing.
like I
That's
think,
why I think I have to really think through it.
I mean, that's my same dilemma with like my channel because it feels like for the last couple months it's kind of been more of like Achilles stuff, not as much like MS focused stuff, which is fine. And I'll post things every once in a while, but I don't know. It's hard. It's just really hard to like, hey, my life isn't just MS. My life isn't just fill in the
Mhm.
blank. Like it's multifaceted. And granted, my Keep Moving with Emily is more like fitness focused too, but it's tricky.
I mean, I feel that way with Mountain Baby too, because I used to almost post everything that I was making and orders that I was putting out, and then it's like I
Mhm.
truly just don't have the time, and
Right.
so yeah, there's that thing where like if it's not even posted on Instagram, did it even happen, kind of thing,
Mhm.
and it's like yes,
Mhm.
if I could record all the things and stuff, but I'm like, that's not why I'm doing this.
Right.
Right.
So
Well, and it feels much more authentic when you post something that like you really want to share. Like I know today you shared, I don't even know what you're making and I'm your sister, but like, hey, I'm doing something fun and new. It's coming
yeah.
soon. Which is fun because then that like, oh, what's she making? Like I haven't seen her
Well, and
post
it's
that in a
like
while.
I'm still here. I'm just like
Right.
not really
Right.
caring if I'm on here as much because truly I don't get much traffic from Instagram anyway. So
Mm,
much of my purchases are from directly from Etsy. So
right.
I'm like, Instagram's just like a cute, place to host all my photos.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
really it. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway,
Yeah. Cause
yeah, new
I don't know.
product. Be fun.
I know. I'm so excited. You'll have to tell us offline what it
Yeah,
is.
I'll tell you
You're
offline.
always so creative. And I mean, you have the perfect muses. Like Moose, Millie, and Annie
Totally.
are like what give you your creativity, which is just perfect. You're fulfilling a need for them and then for other moms too, for
Mm-hmm.
parents. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
cool.
it's fun.
Yeah. Speaking of influencers, I'm like a huge fan of Married at First Sight, and there's this couple. I don't know if you follow them, Abby. They were like the very first couple. She didn't even like them when they first got married, and now they're pregnant with
Oh,
twins.
Jamie.
Jamie. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyways, but what gets annoying is there's so much clickbaity things like, we have really exciting news. Make sure follow us live or subscribe so you can have the first know of like what's happening. And everything's just so like
No.
clickbaity. And I don't know, it gets kind of like old where you're like, I don't really want to follow you anymore. Like, I don't know. Everything is just like, and then I don't know. Like when I think about like if we ever have kids, ooh, am I going to put them on Facebook or am I going to like, cause some people use their children as clicks and I don't know. It's just like one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. Like, and even Kevin is like, I don't know if I'd want pictures of them. I don't know. It's so tricky. Like, I don't know. But then I also want to like share with the world, like look how cute my dog is or my children or whatever I'm doing. So I don't know. I mean, you do a good job, Abby, of like, it's minimal, but you're not.
I mean, I take pictures and stuff, but I'm not really on Facebook so much anymore. But on Instagram, I share stuff, but my profile is private,
Private.
and
Mhm.
everyone that follows me, I know who they are.
Exactly.
So
Right.
it's
So
like,
then it's like your inner circle already.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So I don't have anybody weird that follows me that I'm like, who are you?
Right. I
Yeah.
know. So weird. I'm just thankful, like, think we weren't online, like that much online. Like there was like MySpace and stuff when we were growing up. But yeah, I think it would have been detrimental, So on that note, shall we pick a number and pick a word and see where the conversation takes us?
Yeah. All right. You want to pick it?
I'm feeling 82.
Oh, okay.
Kind of deep.
Yep. The word is purpose.
Oh, purpose. Wow.
Oh, it's a deep one.
I feel like purpose evolves over time in various seasons in life. And maybe what you think your purpose may be, like, actually ends up being something totally different. Well, last week was the first week I went back to subbing. And this year has been a bit of a whirlwind. And my injury kind of took me out, not by my knees, but by my ankles. But anyways, I kind of like was getting back to working and finding purpose in work, which, sometimes I can struggle with finding my identity in like job titles or what I'm doing or what I'm accomplishing. And so my injury kind of halted all of that. And it just was really hard to be like, wow, I'm not contributing financially for our family. I'm not like doing anything right now that felt purposeful, which I know is probably not true because I know I was still like doing things that were, motivating people and inspiring people. But it just felt so good to be back in the schools, like doing something that felt like really valuable. And I even mentioned, like, I just feel like I have purpose again, which is sweet. But at the same time, like, there's also purpose even in the mundane and even in those moments, in those like desert seasons too. Like you still have purpose. But for me, it was like such a tangible thing. At least that's like what I felt last week.
So it sounds like purpose to you is like what you can provide or what you can
Accomplish.
yeah, or like monetize. Is that true?
I'm not sure there's like always like a monetary value to it, but I think it's like, yeah, like what I'm accomplishing, what
You're
I am like giving to the world, but also
contributing.
then like, contributing. That's a good word. But that's probably the 3 in me as like an Enneagram.
Right.
I think there's like worth
Performance. Is that like performance or something?
Mm-hmm.
Achievement, right? Aren't you like
Mm-hmm.
the achiever?
Which
So if
can
you're
be
not
like totally unhealthy too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not like doing or like making an impact or like seeing fruits of your labor, therefore you're a failure, which is not true in the grand scheme of things. But sometimes that's what it can feel like to be like, okay, I'm not making us money. I'm not doing this. I'm just sitting on the couch resting, which is important too.
Right.
So
I think purpose as like a mom is like holds a lot of weight to it. You won't see the fruits of your labor for a long time. I think just recently over the last couple years we've seen fruits of our labor by raising, being consistent in parenting, speaking love and truth over the kids. They are now kind, compassionate kids. So it's like the fruits don't come for a long time, it feels like. And so it can feel, yeah, all like for nothing. But I also know that the role that I'm in has such a deeper purpose. And it's really just that trusting in that the day in and day out and the grind of what God has called me to is more of like a kingdom mindset, I think, to kind of go churchy in a way of just like my purpose is to raise up good people that love Jesus and the purpose behind it is not going to be seen today. And that was really, really hard for me initially as like a first time mom, because every other job you could say that I had some type of measurement in it. And so like I knew, like in sales, like if you reach this goal, then you're doing well. And if your sales are over last year, then holy cow, you're doing something right. Where like in motherhood, you don't have that. And so I had found that I needed some way to gauge that, and like, how is my purpose? Like, how can I gauge whether I'm doing a good job as a mom? And so I actually use the fruits of the spirit. Like, okay, today was I gentle and kind and compassionate, or all those, the fruits of the spirit. And I had found that really helped me, one, evaluate, am I being a kind, loving mom that has like that my kids can look up to, or am I being caught up in being tired and grumpy? Anyway, so I just feel like motherhood is a beast, and the purpose behind it is just good and so important, but it is just like it's hard because you don't see any fruits of it for a while.
The good thing you like endurance sports,
Yeah.
Because it's like a marathon, and a grind.
Right.
I feel like I need to write down a question, Molly, you can answer, and then I'll ask the question after you answer, just to give you an opportunity to share.
Well, just to go off of what Abby is saying though, too, I feel like the fruits require time, and also I feel like you're daily accomplishing your purpose by keeping them alive.
For sure.
So that's like evidence of your like daily evidence of you doing a good job. Yeah, I agree with you, Emily, that like your purpose is something that kind of evolves or like gets kind of like sharpened or molded over time. I think it's hard for me to think about or like answer the question of like, what is my purpose outside of like work? Especially for me, because my work is so tied to what I feel like is my calling. And so, which I think is good, but then that kind of gets into that identity conversation of like, well, who am I then? I also think that when we're talking about purpose, it feels really like tethering or strengthening to have like a faith in Jesus. Because I feel like our purpose is really tied to that too, or should be. And that feels like really safe and secure, especially, I mean, we're talking about influencers and all that stuff, like in a world where I think everybody's trying to figure out what their purpose is. And I just think it would be really scary and hard and anxiety ridden to be trying to figure out your purpose without that, like,
just like the grace aspect of it, of like, there's nothing I can do to earn my place in the world. Like, Jesus loves me no matter what I do, no matter what I pursue. But like having that faith, you're hopefully pursuing the calling, like you say, like he has on your heart. But like that's kind of this freedom of like, there's no work I can do to prove my purpose. But like if we're following God's call, then we can trust that, like, okay, this is right for today, or this right now.
Yeah, because I think sometimes purpose can equate to like being worthy of fill in the blank, love, whatever, success. And so, if your purpose is driven by something that's so fleeting in this world, like that can feel, really insecure and scary, because, you're an influencer one day and you're canceled the next day. Then what? Then who are you? Because I was thinking how also your purpose can become an idol. It can become this thing that you value so much, like whether it's like your identity as a mom and your being a good mom, like sometimes that can become an idol, or being a good, making lots of money or whatever the case may be. I think sometimes that can then kind of get a little twisted and become something that we idolize. So it's such a tricky balance. I don't know. But you kind of always have to like check.
Well, and sometimes I wonder, like, maybe this is a little controversial, but like in Christian world, especially, right? When we talk about social justice or ministry work or anything like that, I think there can be a pretty treacherous, like slippery slope of, well, it's my job to fix this problem, or it's my, like, I'm going to pour my entire energy and identity into, whatever it is, advocating for vulnerable children or advocating for, disability rights or, being a champion for motherhood and all of, like, those things are all really good things. And also, God doesn't like need me to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. And I think that can be like a really painful thing to realize, but at the same time, it's like really freeing too, because it like humbles you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that way like when my time in Thailand was coming to an end and I had like devoted, 4 years to helping, participate in creating this education program, and I had built these relationships with these children, and as an Enneagram 1, I think that I know everything and that my way is the best way and all of those things. And so there was definitely like a feeling of like, well, what happens if I leave? And I had this mentor who was so just wise. And she was like, they don't need you here. God doesn't need you to accomplish this work. He's going to do it, and you got to participate in it. And that's really cool. And also, so I think, while the relationship with God is the tether, I think it's also like this check and balance thing of like, just remember, I'm doing some work and I'm doing some great things and I'm changing lives and I'm, impacting systems and all of the things. I'm doing all of that, and you get to be a part of it if you choose to or whatever. But like, I don't actually need you to save the world. And because I think that's the kind of mindset that gets especially Christians, but like anyone in power, into trouble, thinking like, I have all the answers. I'm the one who's going to accomplish this. Without me, they can't do anything. So yeah, I don't know. I think purpose is good and scary.
And I think it's like, I think about empty nesters, or like, I sometimes think of myself in 18 years and I'm like, okay, like I know God has called me to this now, but like it's hard to view it as my full purpose, because I think I have to remember that apart from being a mom, like I'm Abby and God's created me to be, I don't know, those characteristics that make me who I am as an individual: inclusive, authentic, creative, friendly, these things that I think I incorporate into what he's called me to today. But like what, like my purpose as a mom right now won't always be that. And so like preparing myself for, it will be a long time until that, but just remembering that like I can't put all my eggs in one basket, because this is a season and it's a season that he's called me to for now. But like, it can't be all that I am, because it's not. Like, God's created me for so many bigger things. And I think it's just making sure that we remember these things that we're called to, the deeper purpose in them. It's refining us. It's drawing us closer to him. Yeah. Ultimately making us more like him.
Well, and I think God is really gracious, and it's painful in the moment of like those humbling moments, because I feel like I experienced that a lot. Growing up, being an athlete was such a part of like who I was and like my dreams, and I thought my purpose was going to be this incredible soccer player. And there were just so many moments when he had to remind me, like, Emily, there's life after soccer. Like, you're more than just this blip on your timeline, and And so it's just like those constant moments of his hard gentleness being like, let me remove this kind of painfully to remind you that you're like more than, yeah, just this soccer player, or just this mom. And those
Mhm.
moments can be really painful, but I'm also really thankful because I think that that's his like loving kindness being like, yeah, you're so much more than that. And yeah, just being open to being like, okay, what are you calling me to outside of these things that like I love and I cherish and I want to be great at whatever I'm doing. But then sometimes he's like, yeah, no, hard reminders.
Yeah, it sounds like it's hard to untangle purpose from identity, you know?
Yeah,
Totally. And I don't think it's a bad thing
Mm-mm.
to have them intertwined, because I think that's like the point. I mean, like,
totally.
God's called you to it. It's your purpose for that time. Like, but I think our identity is ultimately in Jesus. So it's like, no, your identity can't be in what you're doing. Your identity is in who God has made you to be, not the job that you are in.
Right.
Mhm.
He's just using your gifts and talents in the role that he has us in.
Mhm. This seems to be kind of like a conversation that Kevin and I have often, you know, as a military spouse. Like we've moved a few, like 3 or 4 times, and every time it's kind of my job has had to change. And what I'm thankful for is that I have that kind of mindset of being like, okay, God, like, where do you have us? You know, we're in Florida. Cool. Like, what are you calling me to do here and now? And not being so tied to like, I must find a marketing job or I must find this, but to be like,
Mm.
hey, whatever doors he opens, like that's my purpose for this season in this place that we're living. And I think that that's kind of been like a really interesting thing to see as a military spouse, to be like, I'm so thankful that sometimes like when I'm in those healthy places, that when my identity is not tied into those things, like I'm just so open to just saying yes to like whatever the Lord like leads me and the people he brings into my life. And it's been really exciting to like be able to go on this grand adventure of just like, God, what kind of cool connections are you going to make, and what kind of job opportunities am I going to have when I can just be, yeah, like free and untethered to those things, but to be like fully guided by what he's doing. And so that's kind of been interesting, because I think for Kevin, it's hard to be like, you know, this is my job. I'm in the military and this is like my job. But for me, I'm like, I'm whatever is available to where we go, you know? So, which is great. But then as we embark on retirement, he's like, what do you want to do when I retire? And I'm like, I have literally no idea. Like, I don't know. I've just been following you around for the last like 13 years, and I'm not sure what my dreams are, you know? So,
Yeah, I think it's cool to think about, like, in these roles that we're in, our purpose is to just like jump in and do the best that we can with what God has given us, you know? And I think that's just, yeah, you do your best and you show up every day, and yeah, just trust that like God's going to do the rest. And
and just say yes, you know?
yeah.
Right. Do the next right thing. Yeah.
Molly, do you feel like you have like purpose in this season of like singleness? Like, do you find like, is there purpose in that, whether it be like for other people or for, I don't know. I was just kind of curious, like what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I think that for me especially, I think I've had to really think about that a lot. Like and I've been reflecting on it lately too. Cause you know, like if you had asked me 25 years ago, what's your purpose? You know, I think I really would have been like, well, I'm gonna like be a mom and be a wife and maybe be a teacher and like, you know, so I think that has had to obviously shift a little bit. And there's something kind of cool about God being like, that's really cute, but no. Um, and kind of just showing me that there's a lot of value in me being alone and the opportunities and the work that I'm a part of. And I think part of it is like, well, what else am I going to focus on? But my job. But I also feel really passionate about what I do. So, and I think that goes all the way back to, almost 25 years ago when it was like, oh, I see, I'm supposed to be a teacher and I'm supposed to be in education. And then to just kind of watch these like passions grow and get shaped into, now advocating for children with disabilities and making sure that they're getting everything they need. And now even realizing like, okay, I've done that, and now I realize, oh, I really am passionate about like larger systems and the education system as a whole. And now if someone says, what do you feel like your purpose is, it's like, oh, well, my purpose or like my dream is to like have a lasting impact on the education system. And I, I'm open to whatever that looks like, if it's being a school psychologist, great. If it's being someone in a position of leadership, cool. Like, but that's, yeah, like that feels like my purpose.
Mm.
And at the same time, I have to like kind of take a step back too and not get super wrapped up in that or super consumed in it, because the education system is extremely broken and terrible.
Mm.
So, pouring my entire self into that can also lead to, burnout or incredible discouragement, or, it can kind of like take over your life. So I think I have to check myself in that a little bit.
Mm.
But I mean, I don't want to speak for every other single woman out there, but I think the question of purpose is a sensitive one for sure, because I think for a lot of us, if it were truly up to us, our purpose would also include being a spouse and being a mom. And so when it doesn't, like, what do you do with that? And how do you reconcile that a little bit? How do you grapple with it? And then how do you trust God in it anyways?
I love that you mentioned like purpose and dream kind of as like almost synonymous terms too, because I think that that's also, I think it's just so cool. Like I sometimes try to like visualize what God, like if God is, up here and he sees you right here, like 25 years ago, to be like, oh, Molly, the things I have for you, like you're gonna like the capacity that you're gonna like grow in just this dream of yours. It's just so cool because he's outside of time, and so I just feel like he like sees these like big grand things that you're gonna get to be a part of, to be like, just you wait,
Mhm.
and to kind of see that even come to fruition, and the fact that you have the ability and the capacity to like pour all yourself into these things is really
Right.
special and unique,
Mhm.
and I just love seeing this flame just continue to like grow more and more, almost like a wildfire of just like your passion and just wanting to be like, no, I need to be in leadership to like really make a change, because that's truly like your heartbeat. I feel like there are some people in leadership who are in it for the wrong reasons and they've lost sight of that. And I just think you wouldn't be able to have that perspective had you not, like started here and kind of gone there. But I don't know. I think that's so exciting. And I think it's fun to be also a cheerleader for those purposes for other people too, to be like, yes, like that's what I want for you too.
Right.
So,
Yeah, thanks.
and I'm also praying, for you to be a spouse and a mom too, like, because you would be amazing. And so I'm like, come on, Lord, like, let's go. So if you know any great single men out there, send them our way. Thanks.
Yeah, we should just add that plug to every episode.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us for a Word with the Girls. Here's Molly's phone.
Remember, Molly is single, still single, not yet married, available.
Please send you all eligible bachelors.
All right.
We know you're out there.
This is what I love about A Word with the Girls. Some weeks it's like movies or, first
Makeup.
jobs. And then other times it's like purpose, identity, miracles. Like we go deep,
Oh yeah.
but then we also like are fun. And
Yeah.
I think that just kind of shows like how dynamic and deep and authentic we are, of like, we have a good time, but then we also love going deep and digging deep and having hard conversations. And
Mhm.
Well, and that we like actually think about these things. Like these are words that like we actually grapple with or have, you know,
Mhm.
had a hard, like, I feel like identity and purpose has been such a struggle for me personally, just as whatever you want to call me, an 8 or whatever I am, like identity and individualism is so important. And so just like these words are things that we, yeah, think about, pray about, go to therapy for, all these things. And so it's just, although it's super vulnerable to talk about it, it's also like, it's why we're here doing
totally.
this.
Well, and to like hopefully have people in your life to have these kinds of conversations with too, because I think it's really hard to try to navigate all of this all on your own, in your own thoughts, in your own whatever. Like you need people speaking into your life too to be like, man, Molly, like this is a gift. Like this is your sweet spot. How can we propel you in that right direction? Or like really affirm you, Abby, and like how amazing of a mom you are. Like I think sometimes we just need people in our life to like speak to these things to affirm us or encourage us or like help guide us. So I hope that those of you listening, like that you have that type of community around you just because it's so, so important and valuable.
Well, and to have it from 3 pretty different perspectives too, I think is good because it kind of keeps things in check of like none of us has the corner on suffering. I think our stories are so individual. This is a reminder of that. And they're individual and then they can also relate to each other at the same time, which I think is really, really cool.
Well, and I just think it's so important to be continuing to look outward, like where it's not all about ourselves and what we're doing. Like
Right.
the purpose in all of this is to be outwardly focused. Like, how are we interacting with people? How are we loving people? It's not about what I can perform and, show people. It's like, yeah. And I just
Yeah.
think humbling ourselves enough to want to hear other people's purposes, want to partake in them, learn from them.
Yeah. I had read this devotional and I made it like a wallpaper on my phone because I like really loved the prayer. There was like one specific line that just said like, may I reflect your love in every interaction today. And I just think that's so important, kind of like what you were saying, Abby. Like, I think we can often be this society is just so like inwardly focused, like self-care and like it's all about you, but really like, no, we're just part of this like really beautiful masterpiece, or we're just like a vessel for whatever God's doing. And so yeah, like my hope in my purpose for every day is that like, yeah, every interaction that I have with difficult students or relationships or friendships or whatever, that I exude like love and kindness, like all those fruits of the spirit too, as well, and every day.
Yeah.
And I know what we've said before, don't be too open, but to like be open with these purposes, because they can change and evolve depending on what ends up happening in life. And because things can change in an instant. And then you're like, we can't hold so tightly to these things that we like love because,
So
yeah.
true. Well, thank you for joining us for A Word with the Girls podcast where one word sparks conversation. We hope that you've enjoyed today and our word purpose. Now it's your turn. Take it to your friends and let us know how it goes in the comments on Instagram or here on Spotify.
Yay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
So good to see you guys. Well, love you.
Love you more. Bye.
Bye. Talk about deep, darling. Oofda. Monday night chats. We're going deep today with the word with the girls.
I'm going deep head over head. I'm gonna be out in the I'm gonna go. The river's deep, the river's wide, the river's water is a lot. So go swim, I'm diving in. Go swim, I'm diving in. So sweet.
Okay, that was like the very first worship song that I was like, oh, this is different than any other Christian music I've ever heard before.
Oh, that's funny.
Mine was Carmen. Remember Carmen?
Yes.
He was like,
Yeah, this is the topic that we need to also like
worship. What was the one that was? Oh, Who's in the house?
JCC, tell me who's in the house.
JC. Jesus Christ
Is in the house today. Or
He was born to a virgin named Mary on Christmas Day. He went and he died on the cross. You take sin away, you take him high, and you take him low. You take JC wherever you go. Now tell me who? Tell me who's in the house? JC.
Join us for A Word with the Girls. New episodes drop every week.